Today on Unboxing Old Stuff, we're going to unbox the Super Scope. Hello and welcome back to the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Jim, and today on episode 7 of Unboxing Old Stuff, we're going to unbox the Super Scope for the Super Nintendo. Now, I mentioned the episode 7 because once we get to 10, I do have a special unboxing that I want to do there. It's going to be a little bit longer, more in depth. And, while it may not seem interesting once you see it, it has very, very important, significant value with the entire video game industry. So I want you to stay tuned for that. But just a little factoids about the Super Scope here is the Super Scope was released in 1992 in US and in PAL regions. And then in 93 was released in Japan. And that was more due to lack of consumer demand. Now, this is one of those few cases where something was released in US before it was released in Japan. And why, normally it's the other way around. Normally Japan always got stuff before we did. And I just assume that's just because this being a gun of some sort, that they just assume that the Americans like pew pews a little bit more. So we got it first. But just looking at the box art here, you can see that this box very much goes in line with all of the Super Nintendo branding. So the colors, the designs, the lines, everything on it. The way that they do the blurbs. This would be the same way that the Super Nintendo console was. And be on the lookout for an unboxing of that one, because I do have a Super Nintendo as well. And the Super Nintendo games themselves also came into a very similar looking box, where you'd have the box art and then the very similar styles and branding and the way that they did all the blurbs and stuff. So if you look on the front here, you'll notice that there's a kid holding the Super Scope. And if you notice, it's a two-handed controller. So you have one hand holding the front of the controller and then one hand on top. Now, the hand on top is used for actually hitting the fire button, the pause button, and then there's a switch on there as well that you can flip. But yeah, that's controlled with the hand on top, not anything on the bottom. As far as the condition on the front here, there is a little dip here in the back. The sides of the box really don't have a whole lot. That's just because there's not a whole lot of real estate on there, but they usually just have a picture of the Super Scope and sometimes the sensor bar. Same thing with the top and on the bottom. Now on the back, they do give some additional blurbs and stuff over here, and kind of again show you what the setup would look like with the Super Scope, your Super Nintendo, and the receiver plugged into the controller port for the Super Nintendo. And you got your blurbs over here, and then down here in the bottom, it shows you the symbol that you need to look for right there for if your game happens to be Super Scope compatible. Now, the ones that they give examples of over here is Battle Clash, Yoshi Safari, and Metal Combat. So there's just a few games that they give, and they give you some blurbs on it, some screenshots to show you what those games would look like. Now, another game that comes to mind when I think of the Super Scope, and that's just because it is kind of a hybrid game where you can play it without the Super Scope or with the Super Scope, and depending, you will have a little bit different gameplay, a little bit of, different levels that kind of go along with it, and that is Hunt for Red October. Hunt for Red October can be completely played without the Super Scope. It doesn't even have I don't even think it has the levels that you would need to have the Super Scope for, but if you do play with the Super Scope, it's a little bit different gameplay that goes along with it. So this could actually take a game that you already have and give it a little bit extra life to it. Though Hunt for Red October is really not a fantastic game. It's okay. It's okay by any means, but it's not really a great game. So, but and then on the back here, as far as damage, it's kind of hard to see, but from where this has been opened, and this is where we'll open it at, the cardboard gets a little bit torn and pulled back a little bit. But overall, I mean, honestly, for as old as it is, it's in pretty decent shape. I mean, this came again from a collection I bought from one of my friends. That's where I got most of my Atari games, my Atari, my Magnavox Odyssey 2 came from him. So again, watch for that because I've got a restoration I need to do on that because that one's been sitting in my garage for a while and needs some detailing, needs some cleaning, some love, and at some point I want to make some episodes on that. So, but again, yeah, I purchased this as part of his collection, um, and while, like I said, this one does not come with a game pack, I do actually own the game, and the game is the 6-in-1. And the 6-in-1 game kind of shows you a little bit of how the game or how the Super Scope works. Just some little mini games that kind of go along with it. It's not really a full on game. And while this did not come with this 6-in-1, I do have a copy of it, and I'll show you where that copy would actually sit if you had it in this box. So let's go ahead and get this unboxed. Try not to knock my jack-o'-lanterns off because want to be festive, but because we're in October, we're in the spooky month. Still trying to figure out what we're going to talk on the podcast about for the spooky month. Okay, so with it unboxed, this one, while it does come in a styrofoam sleeve, it does not have a styrofoam lid. It just has a sheet of cardboard for the lid. But look at that. There's the Super Scope in the box. Now, if there was the game cartridge, the game would actually sit right here. So I have test fitted it before. I just don't have it in here because I want to have the game on my shelf. But that's where the game would go. So normally I would get the accessories out first and then the gun. But since that's on top, we'll get it out first. So you'll see here that, and there's the buttons I was talking about on top. You can see what that looks like. And if you notice here on the sides, it's duplicated. And that is so that depending on which hand you are, so if you're left-handed, right-handed, so if you're going to put it up here like this, or on this side, you can pick where you want that scope to go. So we're going to put it on this side because I am right-handed. Might hope I put it on the right way, right? Oh, great thing about doing stuff filming. So you do have a way of looking down the scope there. So you can see what that looks like fully put on. I'll set that off to the side. Yeah, pretty sparse in here. Now, mine does not have the owner's manual, but here you can see what that sensor looks like. And like I said, it just plugs into a controller port. And then let me just look at the buttons on this thing. Okay, so you've got, like I said, you've got your fire button, you've got your pause button, and your power button, because since this is wireless, this thing runs on batteries. And what kind of batteries do we got in here? Let's see. 6 AA batteries is what this would run on, and they go under here. And from what while I've never actually went and used this yet, from what I've been told, this thing would just drain batteries like crazy. So it's nice compared to the Zapper because of it being wireless. All right, but now you're having to deal with throwing batteries into this, and batteries aren't cheap these days. So this could be kind of an expensive thing to go off and go shooting. But I mean, just look at the condition of this thing. This thing is in immaculate condition. Like it is just wonderful looking. Now, unfortunately, like I said, this does not have any documentation in there, so I don't have a whole lot to show you on that. So there's not going to be much on the close-ups, but we'll show you what the back of the box looks like, and so that way you can see what the blurbs and all that stuff says, since we don't have anything really in here to unbox. So yeah, we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll meet you back here after that. All right, so you got a chance to see all the stuff that was inside there. And again, like I said, this one's pretty sparse. I don't know if there were manuals or whatever that came with it. Mine did not. but it's neat to see how everything kind of came in the box and kind of that experience of what it looked like when you actually got one of these new. So, anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this unboxing video and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Definitely make sure that if you did like this, that you like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that fun YouTube stuff, because we're definitely appreciative of all of your feedback that you give us. And we're very, very, very close to that 300 mark if we're not already over it. So we'll be setting our next goal to try to get that subscriber count up. Anyways, thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next unboxing.